Hello, my needle drops. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I'm a little sick, still, but I'm on the mend. I'm getting better. I feel more energy. I feel more appetite. You know, really the only thing that I feel like is holding me back, man, is this stuffy nose. Before I get into this review, I want to thank everybody who's been commenting and everything, saying, get better, get well, feel better, feel well. It's flattering to know that I'm in your thoughts, and thank you. Let's start this thing. This album is from a bro named Luke Abbott. Abbott is an electronic musician from the UK, and he's got a lot of singles and EPs under his belt. But as far as I know, this is his first proper full-length album, Holkham Drones. Now, don't judge a book by its cover or an album by its title, because Holkham Drones is not just this weird, psychedelic, spacey drone odyssey. Disappointing, I know. Instead, this thing is actually an incredibly fun listen, over an hour of material that kind of genre hops like mad. This thing just keeps me on the edge of my seat and just kind of keeps me curious, keeps me engaged. And that's mostly because of all the twists and turns Luke Abbott takes over the course of this album. This thing starts off with an extremely slow tempo, this fuddy-duddy old-school drum machine that sounds like something out of Beach House's Devotion, and warm analog synths as well, just bubbling, arpeggiated chords. And it all sounds like some kind of lost synthesizer expedition from the 70s, something that I'm sure maybe Vangelis or definitely the guys in Kraftwerk would get teary-eyed to. To go back to the percussion, it really adds to the vintage aesthetic of this album too. You've got these clicks that sound something like snares, you have really bouncy bass hits, and the cymbals are kind of what get me the most. They don't really sound like cymbals as much as they sound like little hissing snakes crawling all over the mix. I don't want to say this, but I can't help but feel it. It just sounds cute. The drums actually remind me of some sounds I would be hearing a lot when I was a kid, sitting Indian style in front of the TV and playing an infuriating game of Balloon Fight. I wouldn't mind playing a game of Metroid to this thing either. And it's not hard to see why. Many of these tracks are based on repetitive, layered melodies that are hypnotic and soft and don't adhere to structure or time constraints. Very explorative stuff. I haven't heard synth worship, modern synth worship, like this since Matmos's Supreme Balloon, and I absolutely adore that album. But to go back to the genre hopping that I mentioned earlier, there are other sides of this album. This isn't just some kind of one-dimensional thing. There are tracks on here that feel inspired by the earliest days of house music, something that the DFA crowd or LCD Soundsystem fans might go nuts for. And there are tracks on here that really dabbled in minimal techno. Despite that, the synths still sound kind of old school, the drums still sound kind of old school. The music really grabbed me in a Pantha Du Prince kind of way. And of course there are songs and moments that basically straddle these musical ideas as well, incorporating bits of one, bits of the other. Really the only thing 100% cohesive about Holkham Drones is just its devotion to these vintage sounds. But this music is still executed with a very contemporary ear, and when it does get weird, it does get experimental. It doesn't sound like, you know, old, outdated, archaic experimentations. It sounds like an adventure of today. If you're open-minded, I could see this thing appealing to a lot of different fans of electronic music, and for me it works on multiple levels of listening. You could be paying complete attention to this and still get a lot out of it, still see a lot of subtlety here, and still pull a lot of secrets out of this thing, really dive into the nooks and crannies. And then again, it sounds really nice in the background as just kind of chill out music, just mood setting music. My only real gripe is that maybe on several spots of this album, to me, it meanders a little bit. It would have been really awesome if there were some more of those dance tracks on here, which initially are what kind of caught me and made me want to stick with the LP and really explore it more and more. And to me, even though everything else, the slower moments, really have grown on me, these dancier tracks really are the showstoppers of this album. Right now on this thing, I'm pretty much feeling a decent 8. I really enjoyed the hell out of this thing and want to listen to it more. I'm going to add it to the love list, which is linked in the D box, and give it a listen. Let me know what you think. Are you loving it, hating it, and why? And how does this thing measure up compared to the other electronic albums of this year that you've been enjoying? Anthony Fantano, Luke Abbott, Holkham Drones, forever.